Good evening, folks. Today is a special day. In fact, April 20th, and you must be wondering what is so special about April 20. But for me, it is. It's the first anniversary of me being a teetotaler. So, of course, clean life, good sleep, been very regular. Quite happy with where I've reached. At some stage, I thought it was inconceivable to even think of myself being in a leading a cleaner life without any bad habits, but I'm happy I've crossed that. Okay, anyway, with that past behind us, let's get into a good topic. I want to speak about protein. How much is too much, or is there a sudden call some kind of a marketing gimmick that's going on in India and across the world? So as usual, I was coming across some articles online and also on papers, right from Amul to every other company which has been existing in India for the last 30 years, 100 years or more, right from biscuits to curd to milk. Uh, I don't know about water, but pretty much atta to everything seems to be marketed with added protein, and then you must be wondering why are these big FMCG companies doing so? Is there a great sudden appetite in the Indian market for proteins, or is it that Indians have been lacking in protein for centuries and centuries, right? So we don't know. Let's just find out. So what I did is I read a little bit. I came across a good article in the morning context. India's mad rush for protein. It needs a reset by I think Disha Acharya. It was a pretty. I didn't read through the full article, but it gave a good idea of how it was structured. And I also came across a very good article in Guardian. I will I'll paste the link to that article in the description for you to read. Both are pretty good. The second one is pretty long, but it's really good, written in 2019. The real question that we have to answer is how much of this hype is justified. So let's just go through some basics around this. So according to the regular, let's say the regulatory guidelines or etc., whatever you call it, about zero point 0.8 grams per kilograms of your weight is more than adequate to lead a normal, healthy life, right? What you see nowadays with too much focus on health, wellness, and other aspects is there's a lot of sudden euphoria on communication. Oh, are you not having enough protein? Oh, without protein, you're going to die. Oh, you don't have muscle mass, you're going to struggle. Yeah, yes. Protein is important. It's one of the three macronutrients that all of us are supposed to have, along with fats and carbohydrates. But it's not that the other two are villains. These are also essential macronutrients, which is why we want we have it on a daily basis. Now, what's happening on the contrary is that suddenly everyone is waking up into thinking, oh, protein is an elixir that will make us immortal. And they're just kind of ignoring carbs and fats and going almost overdose on the protein. Oh, whatever I'm having, does it have protein? Whatever I'm having, does it have protein? Oh, this has carbs, it's a villain. Oh, this has fat, it's a villain, avoid it. And suddenly from this point 0.8 to let's say 1 gram per kilogram of requirement that we normally have, which most people across in the developed world at least are already in proper consumption based on their weight of let's say average of 80 kilos. They seem to be taking 60 to 80 grams per day in US and UK and other countries. Yes, India seems to be protein deficient, definitely, but is it really that dire, or is it purely a marketing gimmick? That's a question that people are asking, and I think the marketing companies or these FMCG companies are preying on people's lack of knowledge and gullibility of people into saying that, oh, you're not having enough protein, you're not going to have a good quality of life, which is probably not quite true. The other thing they're spreading is also that, oh, you're not eating meat, you're not going to have enough protein, or you're having inferior protein, for example, right? So these are some myths that's being floated around. But for most people who are not very active, who are sedentary, 9 to 5 or 9 to 7 kind of a jobs, they wake up, they go to work, they come back, minimal amount of walking and stuff. Zero point 0.8 grams per day of their body weight is more than sufficient. So in India, let's say the average weight is let's say about 70 kilos, right? 70 into zero point 0.8, 50 to 60 grams per day is more than sufficient. And if you're eating 3 times a day, 20 into 3, or let's say 18 into 3 is more than enough for you to meet that requirement. And it's not that hard, right? Whether if you're a meat eater, it's much easier. Let's say you eat meat one time, once in a day, whether it's for lunch or dinner. any chicken or mutton has ample proteins per 100 grams, almost in the range of 25 to 30. So you are bound to easily have easily meet your protein requirements. Even if you're a vegetarian, for example, along with your dals and lentils and the milk, curd, and all of these items that you have, it's kind of slightly more difficult than meat eater, but it's paneer and other things. It's kind of easier to meet your requirements of 60, 70 grams per day. It's not very hard. You don't have to really worry, oh, I'm not having enough. I'm having 50 grams per day. Something is wrong with my body. I'm not going to be able to have enough energy to do my work tomorrow. No, that's all a myth. For most people, even if you're a vegetarian or a vegetarian, a combination of this is more than enough. And there is also a misconception that, which is floating around a lot, that vegetable based proteins are insufficient or not, or possibly are not considered not complete, or they call it incomplete. Right now, there's a guy, Christopher Gardner, a professor of medicine at Stanford. I'm just reading from the notes that I've written. He's argued that the quality argument is misleading. His great discovery was that all plant sources of protein, from peanuts to edamame beans, contain all essential amino acids. Admittedly, they contain smaller concentrations of the amino acids than meat or eggs. But in the context of plentiful and varied diet, this doesn't really matter. So, if you're a vegetarian, or let's say vegetarian plus egg eater, you don't have to worry that you're missing out something by not eating meat, right? Similarly, meat eaters, you're getting enough protein any which way. Okay, let's go through some more facts. We covered how much protein we need, so that is pretty much done. Let's look at what happened. Cool. Yeah. So apart from this basic mythbusters, the other thing that generally goes around is there's various studies and research done by a lot of people on how much is excess protein, or and will excess protein have any negative impacts on the body. So there are various researchers which shows, let's say that it may be harmful to the kidneys. Then there are contrasting studies which show that no, there is no harm done to the kidneys if you have excess proteins, for example. Same thing with metabolism, same thing with liver functionality. Or there were studies which initially showed, oh, you might have developed cancer, or you might have heart attacks or plaque development due to excess consumption of meat or excess protein, particularly the meat based protein. But there's a lot of contrasting studies which also debunks these theories and says, oh, it's fine, it's not that much of an issue, right? There are studies which again shows that it could impact the health of your bone, particularly if you're a woman. um, so these were studies done in, for example, 2013, and published, peer reviewed and stuff. But there are also contrasting theories, that such is the nature of research papers. You'll always have someone claiming something and then the other study, for example, debunking it. That is the nature of it. But you don't have to worry too much. What I'm trying to tell most people is that for most practical purposes of a normal human being who leads a simple life with minimal movement per day, the requirement can be met quite easily, and there's nothing to panic. That's point number one. Secondly, let's say if you're for people who are into heavy activities, and there are two categories. One is recreational activities, like people like me, and people who let's say work out regularly, for example. They may need additional protein requirement per day to build muscle or retain it. Right? That's pretty much normal. So let's say from point 8, you could go up to 1.2 to 1.5, etc. Then you have the super elite category of, let's say, sportsmen, athletes, or even, for example, movie actors who need to possibly, put on some muscle for a role that they're playing, or any other requirement. So you have to understand that, comparing yourself to them is not correct. Those people have all high quality resources at their disposal, right? From dietitians to nutritionists to great coaches to help them build the bodies, doctors and supplements, whatever is there. They have all kinds of support to be able to excel in their profession, right? Because that's their profession. Putting that muscle in 3 months, 4 months for a role is a requirement. Or an athlete to run a race, or run across the field in football or a hockey, he needs to be strong. So he needs to have certain types of nutrition, and this is all well planned, right? So comparing yourself to them and trying to do things that they do is not necessary for you. I'm not going to say that it's going to damage you. All those reports that I said of having some negative effects on the body is probably not entirely true, or maybe true. I don't know. I'm not qualified to even argue that some things are necessarily true or not otherwise. But all I'm saying is, yes, there are contrasting things, and you as normal person, or even if you're a person who goes to the gym, has a lot of workouts, or you're into running, etc., and if you meet your protein requirements of one and a half, let's say 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of your body weight, using natural sources, that is more than enough. Now, this when I say natural, right? So there's a sudden burst of things like whey protein and a lot of other protein related products that have come into the market. Some are legitimately great products, maybe, right? I don't know. I don't try any supplements. If you can get your let's say macronutrients from natural sources, it's better you stick to that. There's no need for extra protein of 25 gram in one scoop. If I don't have it, I'm missing something. No, you're not missing anything. As long as you meet this basic requirement based on the level of category which I will classify as normal to slightly active people, right? That's it, right? For us, this requirement is more than enough, which can be met by your basic, eggs, milk, and other stuff, lentils, dals, and other things that you're having. That's it, more than enough. I don't want people to panic. I think there is definitely some madness that is going on. Mostly, it is to do with people's insecurity. It is to do with people telling people that you're not doing something right. Kind of a fear-based marketing that is going on. Uh, I don't think it's as bad. In fact, you've seen people living for millions of years, 200 thousands of years, where people have had meat, people have had vegetables. There is a mix. There different kinds of races and cultures have evolved pretty good, and India is primarily 75% non-vegetarian. And if these guys are having a few hundred grams of some meat per day, or even 3, 4 times a week, that still gives them enough building blocks and proteins for them to lead a good life, right? So that's something that I wanted to touch upon today. Nothing more. I'll keep it short. So, in effect, if you're someone who is looking at all this, daily newspapers and worrying that you're not having enough proteins, please don't worry. Getting 50 to 60 grams per day from your normal basic sources is more than enough. But keep that in mind that you should try and take that minimal requirement to lead a active life. Lack of it will not really make you imbecile tomorrow, or you will not vanish into thin air. That's about it. Have a great day. I'll catch up next week with some other interesting topic. See you. Bye.